Previously on MDA.
We were tough on Rosanna Forelli. I feel uncomfortable about it, that's all.
You mean I was?
I was on your team.
It didn't always feel that way today.
Could get a bit dull if we agreed on everything.
However tragic Jody Maurice's condition, I did nothing to contribute to it. MDA does not owe her a cent on my behalf.
Reluctantly, we concede that token offer is the least damaging, disruptive way to go.
You know, frankly, I'll be glad to give her something. Addiction's a disease, it's not a lifestyle choice.
When Jason collapsed in the toilet last year and Layla and I had to get him out...
Yeah, he was not sick.
You blame it all on Jason, do you?
No. Me, as a matter of fact, I blame a hell of a lot of that on me.
There is one aspect that's worrying me. You. I mean, if he detects the slightest sense that the plaintiff's own sister holds her responsible in any way, he's going to sniff out your resentment and he is going to make it play for him.
We need money. Jody needs money. And I don't give a shit who Richard Savage has to sue to get us her.
Early mediation?
Yeah. Did you want me for something?
I was going to get your opinion on something, but it can wait. Thank you. Which one is it that you're going to?
Ross, you've seen the file, retrograde ejaculation.
Glance through it. How's it all working out?
Well, this guy, Michael Ross, he used to have sex 5 or 6 times a day with his wife.
Lucky man.
And masturbate between times.
Did he have time to work or eat?
He was totally upfront about it, swore blind it was true. Then he gets a urinary blockage, and the doctor he was sent to divided his sphincter. Totally unnecessarily, by all accounts. Now sex is painful for him, and he has retrograde ejaculation.
That could backfire on him.
Don't.
Antegrade is normal forthright ejaculation and hence retrograde.
Backwards. Ouch.
Well, into the bladder. There's no pain associated with it normally, although I notice Mr. Ross is claiming for pain, but sterility is always a result. And Trzinski has his mobile phone switched off.
Avoiding us?
Well, you'd think he'd want to be here to put his case in person, but...
Maybe he's intimidated by Mr. Ross's alleged former sexual potency. This guy is claiming he screwed his wife 6 times a day and jerked off in between. He's got to be delusional.
Sounds about normal to me. Trzinski's receptionist might be in by now, so you can give her a call. Mind you, we're probably better off without him here making excuses. It was a stuff-up of monumental proportions. Yes, hello, Mrs. Mills. It's Simon Lloyd here from MDA. No, well, I'm afraid he hasn't. No, well, all I know is that we're about to commence mediation on his behalf, and he said he would be here.
So, how's the clinic managing without you?
I don't know. Same number of junkies on the street as usual, I guess. How's the case shaping up?
Well, I'd like to say well, but it's a tricky one. It'll be all right, though. In some ways, it's better for you that the case goes to court, though. It's all out in the open this way.
I understand the theory.
How long are you taking off?
Depends on the outcome a bit, and how long I can survive without a job.
I think it'll be fine. Just tell it the way it happened. You were trying to help her and she stole from you. Simple as that.
Is it?
Approach and be recognised.
I just thought I'd better let you know they've appointed a judge for Jody Maurice.
Tell me it's not Tulloch.
I will if you want me to lie.
God.
He's a pro-plaintiff one, yeah?
Well spotted.
The final decision will still be up to the juries.
Savage will instruct his counsel to argue that due to the complexities of the issues and the number of defendants, that the case should be heard by Justice Tulloch alone.
We'll be asking Justice Tulloch to dispense with the jury and hear the case himself.
And you can do that.
Certainly. It'll be to our advantage. Justice Tulloch has a consistent record of finding in favour of victims of medical negligence. Sure, there are some pluses of going with the jury. They may take one look at Jody and feel sympathy for her.
Of course they will. Jury will help us, and you want to get rid of them.
On the other hand, the community's attitude towards drug users and the harm that they can do to themselves can be pretty tough.
Yeah, but having a group of people there on the spot looking at Jody, seeing the way she is now, that's got to help us.
Melissa, a jury is made up of ordinary human beings, not versed in law or legal precedents. Now, when they look at Jody, sure, some will feel sorry for her, some won't. They're going to say, she stuck a needle in her arm, she bought this on herself, she does not deserve a cent.
That's bullshit.
The point I'm trying to make is you cannot count on a jury being sympathetic.
I think it's more likely a jury will assist us.
The defendants think the jury will assist them, so what, you think you know better than them?
I know we're trying to second-guess people. I understand what you're saying. I just think you got it wrong.
The offer they made at mediation shows they weren't very keen on getting it settled there.
And you think we should hold out for 2 to 3 million rather than accept 500,000?
Mum, we've already decided that.
But there's too much we can't be sure about.
Mrs. Maurice, one thing you can be sure about is Justice Tulloch. And that is a very good thing for all of us.
Dr. Trzinski isn't obliged to be here, Mr. Ross.
I explained that my client would like to hear Dr. Trzinski's version of events.
In Dr. Trzinski's absence, we can see that the surgery he performed on Mr. Ross has likely resulted in his subsequent disability.
My client woke up one morning unable to relieve himself. His local GP obtained an emergency referral to a urologist, Dr. Trzinski.
We're aware of the events,
Well, maybe you should listen to them again.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. It might be wise to let your counsel speak for you.
Who, for some bizarre reason, decided that dividing the sphincter and resecting the prostate was indicated for my client's condition. We have opinions from 5 leading urologists saying that this procedure would never be carried out on a patient of Mr. Ross's age unless it was absolutely unavoidable, which it was not.
We can see the damage Mr. Ross has suffered through Dr. Trzinski's actions, and we're prepared to settle here and now.
This bloke has ruined my entire life. I want to know why he did it.
Mr. Ross's marriage broke up as a result of Dr. Trzinski's negligence. Prior to the operation, my client and his wife had a highly active sex life.
And now I have no sex life. Are you married?
Mr. Ross.
Are you?
Yes.
Well, think about that. Never again. It hurts when I get a hard-on. Penetration hurts.
I think you should also know that my client's former wife is now in a relationship with someone else and is pregnant.
Okay, so did she leave him because they couldn't conceive? That's still not clear.
In here it says she couldn't take his constant moodiness and bad temper after the operation. So it wasn't just the sex. God knows after all those years of 6 times a day, she was probably ready for a break. It's a wonder she isn't suing for wear and tear.
He is clearly depressed.
Yeah, it's not relevant to us. After a failed attempt at sex, he smashed his fist through a door.
Poor guy.
Yeah, well, I'm living the life of a nun at the moment, but I'm not smashing walls over it.
Yes, but your condition, I assume, is temporary. His is permanent.
Can we just make the offer?
I was under the impression we were trying to. $30,000.
I want Dr. Trzinski here. I won't accept anything until I see him.
It's unusual and it's unreasonable, and we don't.
It's
need
not
this
bloody
to be
unreasonable.
here.
It's not enough.
I will be asking for more, but Dr. Trzinski's attendance.
It's not
has
about
no
the money.
bearing on
Fuck
this
the money.
whatsoever.
I want to look that incompetent asshole in the face. He doesn't give a shit about me, and I want him to understand what he's done. I want him here.
What? So you want to make this a non-negotiable condition of settlement?
Yes. Can we do that?
The issue here isn't totally monetary. We realise that your member is under no obligation to attend this meeting. We concede that. My client has rights too, and he feels that he has a right to an apology. He feels that this would be an essential step in the process of recovery. To that end, we will accept $50,000. With a full admission of liability in person from Dr. Trzinski. Otherwise, it'll be 100.
Unusual condition, but an excellent outcome. $50,000. Well done.
Well, I'm sorry to be the voice of doom, but we may not get Trzinski into mediation. At the moment, we can't even get him to answer his phone.
So what do we know about him?
Well, he's got a good name. He had a paper on prostatectomy in the Lancet 18 months ago. That was very well received.
There you go. When he fronts, is he going to be safe?
I'm hoping there'll be enough people there to make sure that he doesn't get out of hand. But I tell you what, all Michael Ross's untapped sexual energies have flowed straight from his dick into his disposition.
Know the feeling.
But in the meantime, we can't even contact him.
Layla, could you try him for us?
Yeah, of course. Someone called Leanna phoned.
And I'm expecting Margaret Kibble from the pharmacist insurers.
Okay.
Hello. Liana de Alessandro, please.
Okay.
Simon Lloyd. Hi, it's me. No, I heard you were in town.
Savage will request that the jury be dispensed with and the case be heard by Justice Tulloch himself.
And we'll request that the case still be heard by jury.
The bottom line, regardless of whether we have a jury or not, is that we are required to prove that the 5 defendants in this case are innocent, that not one of us slipped up.
Well, you know how I feel about this. The pharmacist has the weakest case.
Tell Margaret that.
Given that there are any weaknesses, and if we can spot them, Savage can also, we're going to have to concede something, am I right? What I'm proposing is a cap of 1 million. MDA will take 10% liability, St Mark's 20%, Amerton House 20%, and I think the rest should be borne by the pharmacist insurer.
MDA has 2 defendants and you're still hanging on to the smallest share?
Would you like a small wager as to how well this is going to go down with Margaret?
We're going to have to be firm in our resolve, and I will need you to back me up when she gets here. Agreed?
Excuse me, Happy, Margaret Kibble's here.
Thanks for coming in, Margaret. The others are already here.
You heard it's Tulloch.
In light of that fact, I think it'd be prudent to regroup. Layla,
I'll bring in a tray of coffees.
Thank you.
Amanda, I spoke to his receptionist and apparently Dr. Trzinski's going to be busy all afternoon winding down his practice. And then she goes, oh, he's going to be away for the next few days. And then she corrects herself and says, oh, no, sorry, I meant a few weeks.
What is this guy's story?
It all sounded like lies, not even very good ones. I'll try again later if you like.
Thanks. It won't make any difference.
We think it will. He is a known pro-plaintiff judge.
In a case where the plaintiff is a drug-addicted kleptomaniac whose condition is completely self-inflicted.
Courtesy of your pharmacist filling a script he should have seen was a forgery.
We never conceded that.
Well, I think it's about time he conceded something, Margaret, because that's exactly what Savage will be arguing. You heard him at mediation. And his barrister will be arguing in front of a judge with a well-documented history of being in sympathy with downtrodden working-class battlers unable to help themselves.
So what you're saying is we should just throw in the towel now before the fight's even begun?
I'm saying let's be realistic.
And I'm telling you that we're not going to settle because we maintain the pharmacist is innocent.
Sit down, Margaret. You know we have to settle. We're way past posturing and bluffing on this. We have to agree on a new settlement figure, we have to agree on our shares, and we have to do it right now.
I want a 5-minute break.
Oh, going well so far. Thanks for your help, gentlemen. You're terrific.
Dr. Trzinski, hello. It's Layla Young calling from MDA. I just had him on his mobile and he hung up on me.
You've wasted enough time on this, Lals.
He won't do that to me twice.
He won't answer.
Yeah, I can see that.
Voicemail.
No, well, it would.
Dr. Trzinski, it's very important that you contact...
When do you think he'll be there?
As soon as possible. We've been able
Yeah,
to
no, I won't, but you do understand it is important that I speak to her. Yeah.
So please give us a call.
Okay. No, thanks, you've been a terrific help, thank you. That was Vivian, Dr. Trzinski's receptionist.
First name terms already. She won't even give me the time of day.
Now, she said he lunches at Il Chiaro every day, like clockwork, between 12 and 1.
I'm glad to see his incompetence hasn't upset his routine.
Now, she wasn't too happy with him either, which I found interesting.
Must be a gender thing. What do you do?
I just talk and listen.
I'm going to go there. I'm going to nail him. Do you know where Il Chiaro is?
Vivian also told me Ross fronted the place a second time. This time Trzinski was there but wouldn't see him, so he threw some furniture around.
Charming. What did Trzinski do?
He hid in his office and then sneaked out through the car.
Did they call the police?
No, apparently not. It's illogical, isn't it? I get the feeling she's protecting him. I'm wondering whether he's not impaired somehow.
Drug affected?
Well, that evasive behaviour, pretty irrational.
Makes sense, you know. Crappy judgment, botched surgery, inability to face his mistakes. He could be a pet head. Anyway, here we go.
don't know about anybody else, but I'm getting a little tired of going round and round in circles.
If we have to settle, we can take equal shares. That's all I'm saying.
Nobody agrees with you on that, Margaret.
I'm tired of hearing about the blamelessness of your clients, Bill. If Dr. Alfano had done a proper evaluation of Jody Maurice instead of just fobbing her off...
Oh, bullshit. John Alfano made a totally valid professional assessment of the situation with which he was presented. He decided there was no point in treating the plaintiff until she was detoxed. The only mistake he made was in assuming that Emerton House was competent enough to exercise its duty of care in preventing her from simply walking out. Unlike St Mark's, which quite happily pumped the plaintiff full of pethidine until she was addicted, Dean Conroy refused to supply her. He was in the process of seeking alternative treatment for her when she stole a page from his pad and wrote herself a prescription. A prescription, I might add, Margaret, your client quite happily filled, even though he regularly received scripts from the real Dean Conroy. At the very least should have recognised it was not his handwriting. Not to mention the fact there are well-established protocols in place for dealing with suspect requests for drugs of addiction.
Margaret, you have to concede negligence there. Of all the slip-ups, that was the worst.
It's no worse than your rehab letting her walk away.
Of the 5 steps Jody Maurice took on her path to destruction, the really slippery one is your pharmacist. We're not agreeing to equal shares, Margaret. Disabuse yourself of that notion now.
Well, so much for clockwork.
At least the minestrone was good. OK, plan B. We go to his rooms.
Amanda, I think we've done enough. This is way beyond our job description. No, I'm not going to start hunting him down.
We've only got one more day before mediation. Look, you go back, let Happy know the state of play, and I'll see if I can find him. I'll see you back there.
I think you should cut him loose.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we're wasting valuable time on this idiot. Now, we'll pick up our part of the settlement, 50,000. The other 50 can be met by Dr. Trzinski if he doesn't want to front up. Draft him a letter explaining that this is the nature of discretionary indemnity, and let him know that we indemnify people for medical negligence, not for failure to have a backbone.
Dr. Trzinski, I'm Amanda Mackay from MDA.
Please go away.
I just want to explain to you the conditions of the settlement.
Miss Mackay, it's been explained to me over my voicemail.
Yes, but do you understand that it's to your advantage that you come to mediation?
Yes, yes.
And if you don't face Mr. Ross, it'll go up by $50,000. Dr. Trzinski, you don't have a choice in this.
Yes, yes, I do. I do have a choice.
No, MDA made it a requirement that you should attend. Dr. Trzinski, it's to your advantage that you come to mediation. Do you understand? Dr. Trzinski, please.
You could have told Ross to pull his head in and be happy with the settlement.
Michael Ross deserves an apology. I know if you read the background material, he comes across as some kind of oversexed meathead. But he signed an authorisation for a simple cystoscopy. He wakes up after the op and his life's changed forever. Every time he tries to talk to the doctor about it, he gets fobbed off.
Well, you were making a few dick jokes about him this morning.
I always thought he had a case. He's a hard guy to warm to, but he's in a shit-awful position.
Just remind Mr. Ross that our fee remains the same. He does not get a percentage off because he settled for less.
I'm over the whole case. I'm glad Happy cut him loose. Morning. Hi, Lena.
Hey, morning.
Arrogant bastard, the way he dismissed me. I was speaking to him and he just climbed into his car, didn't even look me in the eye.
Oh, well, you did what you could.
Which was a fat nothing. Oh, hi. I was so pissed off. It's been bugging me all night.
So I gather.
But that's it. I've done my bit for Dr. Trzinski.
I might just have to ask my boss. Well, you know, I think it is slightly inappropriate. I know we certainly wouldn't be able to talk about the case. Okay, well, I mean, yeah, I know.
Why would a man with a good work record and an unblemished name suddenly and spectacularly screw up?
It's not our problem anymore, is it?
No, apparently not.
I just don't know how likely that is.
Well, you've got that look that doesn't bode well, Layla.
Jody's mum just called and asked if I could have a coffee with her. I said I'd have to talk to you first.
Setting a precedent, are we?
I also said we wouldn't be able to talk about the case.
Difficult to imagine what else she'd want to talk about the morning we go into court against them.
Fine. I'll tell her I can't make it.
The last thing Savage would want is one of his camp having a cosy little tete-a-tete with one of ours, from which I surmise he doesn't know about it yet.
Well, it'd make more sense for him to send Melissa if he were fishing.
He's getting a lot of mileage out of keeping us and the other parties pitted against one another. Wouldn't it be ironic if there was a little disunity in his own ranks? Layla, look, why not go and have that coffee with her and see what she wants?
Happy, these are people I've known since school.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to be an agent provocateur. She approached you. She obviously wants to unburden about something.
I don't want to get rich out of what happened. I don't want people thinking that's what we're doing. Melissa thinks we're going to need help.
You will.
I know. Better than she does, as a matter of fact. I just don't feel good about her behaviour, that's all.
Melissa's probably stressed. Court actions do that. Her intentions are good.
Look, this isn't just about Jody, it's about Melissa too. She's always been funny about Jody. Jody was the one with all the friends. It's hard when you can see that and you can't do anything about it. I listened to her lately and I don't feel I know her anymore. I know it's not fair on her, but what can you do?
Yes, sir.
Everybody loved Jody.
I know, I remember. That's what was so amazing.
Yeah, but Jody was never easy. She was one thing at home, but she was another thing when she was out. Other people, they just couldn't seem to see that. And Melissa and I...
Mrs. Maurice, I think maybe you shouldn't be saying this stuff to me.
Oh, I suppose it seems silly. I just thought that if I talked to you and you could talk to your employers...
And say what?
I don't know.
There's nothing I can say. It's all happening now. You can stop it, you can withdraw the claim or agree to settle. But once it's come this far, there's no other way of stopping it unless someone backs down. That's what mediation's for.
Melissa won't have a bar of that. She just won't.
I'm aware, Your Honour, that the plaintiff requested trial by jury, but this case has developed a long way since then, and we are concerned about the unusual level of complexity, particularly in resolving the liabilities of all the defendants and their contributions to the plaintiff's claim.
Plaintiff sought trial by jury, Your Honour. My client wants trial by jury, and we believe that the matters to be dealt with in this case are well within the bounds of what a jury may be expected to
Your Honour
comprehend.
will also be aware of a number of multi-defendant personal injury claims in this court, where your brother and sister judges presided over long and complex jury trials.
Thank you for your submissions, ladies and gentlemen. Nevertheless, given the nature of the case, I am inclined to agree with Ms. Montserrat, who dispensed with the jury.
Sometimes it's hard to remember she's the same person. Can you tell us how special Jody was to you?
Everyone thinks their children are special.
But Jody had rare talents, didn't she? From a very young age, you were aware of that.
From a baby. She loved attention. She loved company. She had that gift. She'd talk to you and make you feel the most important person. That everything you said was vital. More with her friends than with me, I suppose. But I could see it. She had the gift. Everyone liked her. I know every mother says that, but it's true. You ask anyone, the school, the netball team, they all wanted her. She was so full of life. So much hope.
Your Honour, I request a brief adjournment.
Yes, I think that might be appropriate in the circumstances. We'll adjourn for lunch.
Savage is a complete and utter bastard. What a setup.
She was reacting to the sound of her mother's voice, not the actual words.
Prove it.
Well, you know I can't.
Exactly.
What happened?
Jody cried while her mother was giving evidence.
An interesting little rabbit to whip out.
It had all the hallmarks of a spontaneous response.
Lola, did you know that Jody Maurice did that?
I don't think I've ever thought about it. What difference does it make? Everyone already feels sorry for her.
Makes a heck of a lot of difference. Savage is going to go back into court and argue that the plaintiff was conscious of everything that happened to her.
And if we argue non-cognizance, we may further prejudice our position with Tulloch.
How do you know she isn't cognizant?
There isn't any clear evidence that she is.
Well, then shouldn't she be given the benefit of the doubt?
That is their argument exactly.
It doesn't necessarily mean increased compensation, though.
No, but it gives them grounds for claiming it. Up until now, what's been at stake has principally been compensating her for cost of care. But now, the plaintiff's pain and suffering might have to be taken into consideration more significantly, along with loss of future income, loss of enjoyment.
If she's aware of what's happening to her, it should be.
That's a big if.
That is the exact reaction that Savage would like from everyone, Lola. They might be wondering whether disposing of the jury was such a smart move, Jamison. So, Layla, how did your little coffee appointment go?
Fine, it was nothing. Mrs. Maurice is just upset about everything.
What did she say?
Nothing important.
Perhaps she feels their claim is not justified.
No. People find going to court scary. You go so often you've forgotten what it's like. People cry because they feel something. If Jody cried in court, something must have been going through her head.
Did you know Jody would react that way when your mother was speaking?
Well, she always does. When Mum cries, she cries. When Mum laughs, she laughs. I thought we made that clear.
No, not clear enough, I'm afraid.
You've seen what she does, like trying to pull her clothes off.
Crying is not like trying to pull your clothes off. Crying indicates cognizance.
I'm sorry, I didn't think it was important.
Is there anything else about your sister's behaviour that I should know?
Why does it matter? Has it wrecked things?
No, quite the contrary. Justice Tulloch's reaction was significant.
Then a jury's reaction would have been better. I told you we should have used a jury.
I was under the impression that you were trusting me to run this case, Melissa. Please bear in mind, I need all the information about your sister, everything. I'd like to be able to count on evidence rather than having it thrust on me.
If Dr. Trzinski does turn up at mediation tomorrow, I can trust you to behave yourself, can't I?
Behave myself? What exactly does that mean?
I think you know what I mean, Michael. You went to his rooms.
Yeah, well, I went a bit crazy. I wasn't thinking straight.
I've given MDA an undertaking that there won't be a repeat of your outburst there.
You know what, to be honest, I don't know exactly how I'm going to react when I see him again. I didn't go to his office for a fight. I went there to find out exactly why he did this to me. And he couldn't even look me in the eye. He couldn't even do that. I'm not a doctor, but you don't have to read a lot to realise what a stuff-up he's made.
Everyone's agreed.
Yeah, he's like, no, I don't have time for this, and he's palming me off like I'm some kind of number. Do you have any idea what that feels like, to be bloody passed over like that? All day, my mates at work, they're all making dick jokes. I want to know what's going on inside his head. And I want him to realise that he has fucked up my entire life.
Dr. Trzinski, I'm Simon Lloyd from MDA.
Your colleague was here yesterday. I have nothing more to say.
I'm instructed to give you this. And to tell you MDA will indemnify you for $50,000 only. If you don't front mediation, you'll have to pay the further $50,000 for Mr. Ross yourself.
Thank you.
If you were to speak to him...
No, that's not possible. He came to see me in a foul mood. I'm not putting myself through that again. He was quite violent.
Okay, Mr. Ross has given his word. His behaviour will be controlled in the mediation room.
That's not it.
You suffer from a mental illness.
Very likely.
You're self-medicating.
Yes, Valium, 5 milligrams BD. No, I'm not injecting morphine. That's what you're really asking, isn't it?
Listen, I'm not your enemy, and I am a doctor.
Do you have a problem with my Valium dose? Good, neither do I.
But if this is troubling you, you may find it a relief to face up to Mr. Ross.
No.
This man's sexual function is impaired forever, not just his fertility.
Yes.
The relationship you enter into with a patient needs to be one of absolute trust.
Please! Don't patronize me with theories about dependency and responsibility. You don't need to make me guilty.
You owe this man something.
I'm sorry, Dr. Lloyd. I can't help you.
I think we're doing just about as badly as we could be.
And why do you think that?
We're going to verdict? Nothing is surer. Margaret Kibble is immovable.
No, I don't think so, Jamison. I think she's whistling in the dark.
Whistling in the dark?
As my old granddad used to say, when all else fails, count your blessings.
I would really like to have this conversation with you, Happy, but so far it's impenetrable.
Well, count them up. 1, we have the plaintiff's friend in the courtroom.
This is not a blessing.
Depends on which way you look at it. 2, our Dr. Conroy is going to mea culpa all over the place in a frenzy of guilt. 3, we have a possibly cognizant plaintiff. And 4, we're about to hear from Dr. Alfano, who will concede nothing apart from the fact that he is blameless and everyone else, possibly including Justice Tulloch, is a fool.
Those are not blessings.
She was resistant to help, rude, aggressive, and generally obnoxious.
And depressed?
Yes, that's common in these cases.
And it's common for addicts who are in a state of depression to overdose, isn't it?
Addicts overdose under a variety of circumstances. Sometimes it's as simple as the quality of the heroin on the street suddenly going up.
So what happened to Jody Maurice was, in fact, predictable?
On the contrary, there are enough recovering addicts in the community to prove that overdosing isn't predictable. It's a facile suggestion. These people are on a destructive path, but they usually don't consciously intend to die.
And you were seeking...
You see, there's a commonly held misconception that addicts are victims. And while on one level that's true, they are certainly not powerless. They are, however, invariably liars. The hardest step in recovery is having an addict recognise the web of deceit they've spun around themselves.
Dr. Alfano, can you answer Ms. Montserrat's question about Miss Maurice?
Thank you, Your Honour. Jody Maurice was seeking help from you?
Jody Maurice's biggest stumbling block was her personality. She suffered from a fairly common hostile dependent neurosis in which she believed the world owed her a living. She demonstrated no insight into her condition, a classic addictive personality. But as I said before, quite plainly, I thought, in order to commence any kind of treatment, she needed to detox adequately.
But that never happened.
We don't live in a police state.
No further questions, Your Honour.
You never told me we'd have to listen to all of this. All of those things that the psychiatrist was saying about her.
Dr. Alfano wasn't a sympathetic witness. His evidence will help us.
Anyway, you knew we'd hear all that stuff. Stop pretending you didn't.
There is one thing to know and another thing to experience it.
No.
I don't want our lives paraded like this. Can't Jody have some dignity?
Mom! Be quiet, Jody!
Don't speak to her like that.
Mom.
This is just too much for her. I want to settle.
We have to wait for an offer.
Anyway, it's not going to go on forever, Mum.
It's already gone on for too long.
No! We have to hang in there. You might be dead in 20 years and I'll be stuck with her.
Dad, It's not fair. I told you I would do everything I can to make sure that you won't be burdened.
Let's just... I'd like to really remain focused on the matter at hand.
I told her that she could move out any time she wanted. I would never make her stay to help.
Yeah, but what can you do? Nothing. To get her into care, we need money.
Mrs. Maurice, you have to be strong.
I am strong. I've cared for 2 dying parents, a husband with lung cancer. I've reared and educated 2 daughters and worked part-time right through. And now I'm caring for Jody. There is nothing that you can teach me about strength.
Yeah, okay, sorry. I'm sorry. You know, I know how hard this is on you. I know how hard this is on Jody, but it will be over soon. You have to hang on to that fact. This will not go on forever. The end will justify the means.
Yep, I'll just put you through. Happy Margaret Kibble.
Margaret, Bill. Mm-hmm. Yes, no, I think as a gesture of goodwill, MDA could live with that. OK, we'll get back to you. Bye.
Well?
The pharmacy insurer has capitulated. They'll take 50%, St Mark's 20, Emerton House 20. We get away with 10%. They're back to Savage with an offer now.
So, what happened to bring this about?
The immovable object of Margaret Kibble witnessed the irresistible force of John Alfano in the courtroom. She saw how unsympathetic he was and guessed our goose was cooked in the mind of Justice Tulloch and decided a tactical retreat was in order.
You've been enjoying this, haven't you?
The Henderson theory of controlled indifference, Jamison. Though I must confess there is a certain satisfaction in being right.
$1.2 million.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. That's wonderful. We never expected that much.
Thank God they cracked before Dean Conroy had to give evidence, that's all I can say.
He's a decent guy, Happy.
Yeah, look, I don't dispute that fact. He obviously feels sympathy for the
MDA.
plaintiff.
Yes, he is. Happy, fine.
Yeah, which is more than you can say for some of the other defendants.
Exactly. Bill Henderson.
I'm glad you've had a resolution.
Margaret.
Our guy's dug his heel then.
Yeah, on what grounds?
Cowardice, probably. One of those noble emotions.
No, well, yeah, no, we need to get organised here. Now, that is most unfortunate, Margaret, yes, but no. We're not going to change any plans. We'll just, yes, OK, see you there, bye. Looks like Dean Conroy's going to get his moment in court after all.
They've rejected the offer.
Counted with $2 million. Please don't remind me what a bad witness Dean Conroy's going to be, OK?
Told us that you turned your back on Jody Maurice for a second.
Yes.
1 second. In which time she was able to reach across your desk, rip a sheet from your prescription pad, hide the sheet, rearrange your prescription pad so that you wouldn't notice, and sit down again. All in 1 second. My goodness, she must have been fast.
I didn't mean literally.
I put it to you, to do what I've just described would have required a great deal more time than the brief period you told this court you left Jody Maurice on her own.
It wasn't long.
But it was long enough, wasn't it, Dr. Conroy?
Yes. I walked to the door. I asked the receptionist to look up the number of a rehab group. I couldn't have been gone more than 10 or 15 seconds.
Did you wait for the number?
Yes.
So we can assume it was more 15 than 10 seconds.
Yes.
Or maybe even 20.
I'm not sure.
You left an addict who you had just refused a prescription to alone with your prescription pad.
We discussed alternative treatments. She seemed really willing to give it a go.
You left an addict alone with your prescription pad.
It was incredibly stupid. It was ill-considered. Just a lack of judgment.
Lack of judgment. Well, I don't think you'll get much of an argument there, Dr. Conroy. No further questions?
Okay. Combination sweet and sour and half a dozen fried dimmies. So one of your heart still beats.
Thank you.
And prawns and tofu.
Oh, thanks, I'm starving.
So, come up with anything while I was gone?
Ever the optimist, Jamison?
Well, somebody has to be.
Well, one thread in this whole labyrinth is that Margaret Kibble has finally realised in a world controlled by Justice Tulloch, she may be forced to pay, so she's better off settling. Unfortunately for us, she has found this thread a little late, and we may yet be devoured by the Minotaur.
All I know is if the pharmacist even looks a little bit guilty on the stand, Richard will run to verdict.
Merchant and Turter. I knew it was here. Have a read.
Weren't they cyclists?
No.
Yes, Michael Turter, 84 Olympics.
This is Harry Turter.
No, and Steve Martin was a young hoon who broke into his shop, and Turter was a diminutive man, normally wouldn't hurt a fly, but he panicked and pushed him down the stairs.
Causing brain damage.
And Martin's family sued on the grounds of unreasonable force.
And lost. Because he'd broken into Turter's shop and was taking off with all manner of goods when Turter clobbered him. Judgment found for the defendant.
The court sees no cause for compensating an individual when their own criminal behaviour contributed to their injury. So said Justice Mary Hoffman. We have a precedent. I suggest you hit this hard.
I read it through last night. I'm around it. Marchant and Turter, 1989, victims of criminal acts.
Excellent.
How do you think we're doing?
Bad as ever, wouldn't you say, Jamison?
Yep.
Good.
The whole idea was that you were going to persuade your member to be here today. If he's not coming, then why have we bothered turning up?
Okay, and Dr. Trzinski just could not make himself available today. We did our best.
My client's not going to let this go until he's had a chance to tell Dr. Trzinski exactly what he thinks of him.
We've allowed him the maximum amount of time to reconsider his decision. It looks like he won't, so we have no choice other than to accept the terms of the settlement.
Well, it's up to you, but $100,000 is a big jump.
Yes, I realise that, Caitlin. Come on, we're going to bloody do this thing or not? You bastard!
Michael, stop! Oh my God, Michael!
No, come here! What the fuck did you do that to me, man?
Michael, don't!
Don't fucking do that! Tell me why you fucking did it! Michael, come on! I lost my wife because of you!
Michael, calm down, come on!
I was arrested because of you! Fuck! You fuck! Get off it! I lost my wife! I lost my wife! I can't have kids, you hear that? I came to apologise, please! Get out! I can't have kids!
Are you going to be all right?
I knew after. Not immediately after, it was a few days. And then it was like a cloud lifting. And then I thought, I just did a crazy thing. I didn't want to face him because it just makes me remember things I can't manage at the moment. I instructed my receptionist to keep the matter quiet.
The matter of the Ross case?
No. 3 weeks before I conducted that appalling procedure on Michael Ross, my wife and my 2 daughters were killed. It was an accident. A car skidded into the back of a semi-trailer. Agnieszka was 9. Gosia was 7. My wife was 6 months pregnant. I did a terrible thing to that man. Because I was arrogant, I thought I could pull myself together by working, throwing myself into my work, and I did something so horrendous. I can't bear to think about it.
I'm sorry you had to go through that today. That shouldn't have happened.
All my life, I believed I was too tough emotionally and psychologically ever to let my judgment get distorted. But then one day I woke up and I found myself shaking. I couldn't stop it. It started and went for days. But the damage was already done. And it's irreversible.
Michael, I've just been speaking with Dr. Trzinski.
You've settled?
No, we're finished, but Justice Tulloch is deliberating on his decision. How did you go?
It was dramatic. Simon's thinking of moonlighting as a bouncer.
Michael Ross got his face-to-face, but not in the way we imagined.
And they got their apology. It was the pits, but we settled for the agreed amount.
And a highly skilled doctor will never work again.
After today, there's a good chance Dean Conroy will be joining him.
Yes, he was not exactly a roaring success in the witness stand.
Did Judith use our precedent?
She most certainly did. So now we have to wait and see if it moved Justice Tulloch.
As in any case, where an active and vital young person's life is reduced to a state of physical and intellectual incapacity, Jody Maurice is undoubtedly a tragic figure. It has been argued that St. Mark's Hospital was negligent in allowing the plaintiff access to drugs of dependency long after her legitimate need for them had passed, and this is undoubtedly true. Much has been made of Dr. Conroy's failure to prevent Jody Maurice stealing from his prescription pad. Dr. Conroy's own soul-searching and contrition on the subject were refreshing, coming as they do from a profession not always renowned for embracing the consequences of its own actions. Miss Massey has made it abundantly clear that every step of Miss Maurice's sad journey involved theft, fraud, and criminal intent, as in the case of Marchant and Turter. And as in that case, this court does not, nor will it ever subscribe to the principle that victims of a criminal act are in some way responsible for any injury suffered by the criminal. Furthermore, I do not think it appropriate, nor do I think the Australian public would expect me to ignore the extent to which Miss Maurice contributed to her own misfortune. However, in the case of Maurice and Blake and others, I find for the plaintiff, and against all the defendants, I award damages in the sum of $400,000, and I publish my reasons. I expect there will be some submissions as to costs, so I will leave the bench temporarily to allow counsel to consider my judgment. Let my associate know when you're ready to resume.
Silence, all rise.
Hi.
$400,000. It's a joke.
I know it's not as much as you were hoping.
Could have had over $1 million if we'd have settled. So not fair. It's just bloody not fair. You think I'm a selfish bitch, don't you?
Mum does. 400,000, she thinks that's wonderful. She's stoked. She's just glad Jodes didn't do something worse to herself. Well, she's got her back now. Right back where she wants her, right in the centre of attention. You can't leave her alone for a second. Do you understand that? What sort of a life am I gonna have?
So what do you think about it all?
I don't know. I feel sorry for Mrs. Maurice and for Melissa. 400,000 doesn't seem like much. I don't know why I feel so bad. It's not like they were family. They weren't even close friends. You know, that was sort of the worst bit. It doesn't matter. It's over.
No, it clearly does matter.
I just felt like I got stuck in the middle of it. I didn't even really feel like I wanted to try and fix things. Like, Melissa's always been really tough. She sort of scared me, and I just felt like I should try, and sometimes you just can't, and you have to accept it.
Very true. You do realise that they'll have to pay part of the defendant's cost.
Why?
Well, when they rejected the $1.2 million offer, the defendant served what's known as an offer of compromise, and since the judge awarded less than the offer of compromise, the plaintiffs are required to pay all the defendant's costs for the last 4 days of the trial.
So what does that mean?
$250,000.
That's just wrong.
It does demonstrate that our offer was a reasonable one.
Yeah, but it's terrible for the Maurices.
Plain fact of the matter, Layla, is that it's a game. And they played for high stakes and they lost. They could have had $1.2 million.